Now, the research and development of nuclear weapons came at great cost, not just financially but also environmentally too. The radioactive waste left behind by tests poses as much danger today as it ever has. During the American-led Manhattan Project in the 1940s, the production of atomic arms took place at more than 30 sites across the US, the UK and also Canada. But when they ran out of space to store toxic materials, the US government dumped them in rural areas. The US health authorities acknowledged doing so in the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri.
Coldwater Creek is adjacent to several sites in the St. Louis, Missouri area, which were involved in the processing and recovery of uranium during World War II. These sites were contaminated with radioactive waste as a result of those activities. While most of the radioactive waste has been cleaned up, citizens have expressed concern that exposure to the waste has increased the number of cancer cases in the area.
Well, Missouri health officials say they are monitoring the situation as well as the condition of the locals who blame their plight on exposure to radiation. RT's Marina Portnaya has got the story.
When Carl Chappell's children were frolicking in the Coldwater Creek beds of St. Louis, Missouri decades ago, he had no clue his kids were literally playing in poison.
The time they were doing that, most of that contaminated material that was in there was up top.
It would be decades before Carl and thousands of other families discovered that the 15-mile creek was flowing with lethal radioactive material.
My son was diagnosed with appendix cancer in 2011, and that basically was the time that we started really putting everything together.
Stories courageously shared by families on Facebook led the community to begin investigating.
People started getting diagnosed with cancer before 40, and these were very active people, very healthy people. It just didn't make sense.
It all goes back to World War II, when America tested its first nuclear weapons, otherwise known as the Manhattan Project. Radioactive waste was later on dumped near the creek, contaminating nearby farmland. 18 months ago, Mary Osco was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. She's never smoked a cigarette in her life.
This was part of national defense. The Manhattan Project was to get the atomic bomb so that we could go over and, win the war and defeat Japan and take out these cities. But we're still victims. We're still casualties of World War II.
Nearly 2,000 cancer cases have been reported in neighborhoods around the creek. Among them, Angela Hebling's mother, who died of brain cancer at age 39. Her father has stage 4 throat cancer. And Angela herself has been deemed a medical anomaly by doctors.
I was diagnosed with pleomorphic adenoma. It's a tumor that's in your parotid gland. From my own research, I've discovered that tumor is commonly seen in Hiroshima bomb victim survivors.
In June, the Army Corps of Engineers announced that it found more radioactive soil in various areas, including this public park.
Our main goal is to make sure that we can protect human health and the environment. And what we're dealing with is generally a low-level contamination, but it does pose a long-term threat, and that's what we stay focused on. So right now, if you walked over a spot that has contamination, chances are it's 6 inches to several feet underneath clean soil.
For Carl Chappell's family, that long-term threat is very real. His father died of cancer at age 48, and just a few months ago, his son suffered the same fate at 44 years old.
He did pretty well the first couple of years, but it was in March of 2014 is when he really had gotten sick, and then it was beyond anything that they could really do for him. And then he passed away 86 days ago.
The Army Corps of Engineers has spent 17 years excavating and cleaning up the poisons of Coldwater Creek. Yet so far, the U.S. government has done nothing to study the health consequences that this disaster has had on countless families. Marina Portnaya, RT, St. Louis, Missouri.